why is Russia dragging the process of war? Is there any motive hidden behind this tactic? Anish says the war is being dragged on for longer than expected by Mr. Putin. He must have anticipated Kiev to fall within 2 3 days of the attack. If it is true, how do you think it will impact the conflict? Will Mr. Putin be more aggressive to get Kiev as soon as possible? And Rishikesh says, if Russian defense forces are so powerful, why is it taking so much time for them to achieve their objectives? Okay, so this is the impression that the media is giving us. They are saying that the Russian invasion or the intervention has been bogged down. Why is it that they have not been able to take Kiev and so on? And the comparison that we have is the various American invasions of various parts of the world. Let's say the 2003 invasion of Iraq, or the invasion of Afghanistan, or the invasion of Libya, and so on and so forth, Yugoslavia, Kosovo, so many things. And typically, when the Americans invade a country, they go shock and awe. So they begin with a massive aerial bombardment. All the videos are still available on YouTube, I'm sure, Baghdad, etc. They just flatten the place, and then they move in because there is nothing left to resist them. So, and when they are moving in, if there is any resistance if there is anything in the way, they just annihilate that. Right, friend, foe, doesn't matter. Just wipe everything out, then move in, and then you establish peace and democracy in whatever wasteland is left. So that is the American way of doing things. The Russians are not doing that. The Russians are not trying to flatten Ukraine. They're not trying to destroy the cities, right? They're not. Where's the Russian Air Force? They're doing nothing with the Air Force. The Air Force is just there, some helicopters here and there, one or two aircraft once in a while, but you don't see any major involvement of the Air Force. And yet we know that in the first 2 3 hours, the Russians had achieved complete air supremacy over Ukraine. Whatever the media is telling you doesn't matter. Because if you see, there are so many long, 40-mile long columns of Russian vehicles going towards Kiev. If the Ukrainian Air Force was still active, how come there is nothing being, they are not able to target the convoys of the Russians? It proves that the Ukrainian Air Force has been neutralized completely. The Russians have complete air supremacy, and they are choosing not to use their Air Force because they don't want to, well, they don't want to do bombardment the way the Americans do. So that's what we know. Now, if you want to look at the, let me show you some images. 1 second. So we will know how it's working. So this is a map of the invasion on the second day. Okay, the second day after the invasion, this is how it was. So the yellow territories are the red one is Donetsk and Luhansk, which the Russians already controlled to some extent. The yellow territories are the ones that the Russians wanted to advance into, and there was some military action going on in these areas. So this is on day 2. This is day 4. The red territories are the ones the Russians had already taken control of, right? So you can see over here, there is this encircling happening. The blue areas are where the Ukrainian armed forces are present, and they are trying to encircle them, the Russians, right? So this is day 4. This is, I think, a day or so before today. So you can see there is significant progress happening. So in just 10 days, they have achieved this much progress. This is faster than the American invasion of Iraq, and it is faster than the German blitzkrieg into France in the Second World War. So it may look like a slow, steady thing. It's not slow at all. It is moving at very good pace. The way the media portrays it will be like nothing is happening. The media commentators, especially the Western media, they're saying that the invasion is going to fail and Mr. Putin is going to be ousted because this is a disaster, and so on and so forth. But look at the progress you're seeing on the maps. There are two ways of looking at things. You see, there are two ways of looking at things. One thing is to look at social media, look at all the propaganda that's cropping up, videos from, they will show some destroyed Russian vehicles here, or some helicopter that's been shot down there. So you get all these different data points. There is one way of looking at it. That is the bottom up approach of examining a military campaign. There is a different approach called the top down approach, in which you look at maps. You look at the big picture. And I just showed you the big picture. That is the correct way of looking at the progress of a military campaign. And you can see the steady increase in the territory that the Russians are controlling. And also, you can see a very clear purpose in what they're trying to achieve. They're trying to encircle the Ukrainian armed forces, and then they will hopefully make them surrender. I hope so. And they want to take Kiev, but they're not going into Kiev. They are also surrounding Kiev, and then they will wait. So it's a very systematic way of doing things. So there is no dragging that's happening. It's happening very systematically, step by step, and they are trying their best not to cause any civilian casualties or any avoidable damage as far as possible to civilian infrastructure and all that. That's what they are trying to do. This is a war. In war, once you set things in motion, you can't control everything, but they are trying their best not to cause any unnecessary destruction.